If you're looking for thriller books that feature the podcast trope, look no further, I have got you. Hello my friends, my name is Michaela. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we talk about all things thriller books. I am back with another installment of a brand new series to my YouTube channel where I am recommending you thriller books that feature a certain trope, with no spoilers of course. I have already got one video up already, which is thriller books by cults, and today we are going to be speaking about thriller books that feature podcasts. I love reading thriller books where they feature the podcast trope, and I guess this is also kind of going to double up as audiobook recommendations, as usually if a book features a podcast trope, they are always incredible on audio. So a bit of a double whammy, if you will. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. Thank you so much for taking the time to click on this video. If you love thriller books, it would mean the world to me if you could hit the subscribe button, and let's get straight into it. The way I'm going to structure this video is I am going to give you book recommendations of books that I have actually read first, and then to finish with, I'm going to be telling you about some thriller books with this trope that are on my TBR. I will timestamp everything down below, so feel free to skip ahead. We have to start out with one of my favourites, which is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This cover that you are seeing on the screen right now is the UK cover. And now I'm just going to quickly show you the US cover. We're going to keep the US cover on the screen actually, because what in the bloody hell is that UK cover? Like, they are not giving the same book at all. It comes back to that for some reason, publishers think that UK people like cartoons on their covers. I don't know who's told them that information, but they're lying to you. We don't like this, we like this. I was going to say I think I'm speaking on behalf of the British nation, but actually I can't say that. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Our main character in Listen for the Lie is a girl called Lucy, and Lucy is accused of murdering her best friend. Except there's one problem. She cannot remember anything that happened that night, and people are like, that's a bit suspicious that you suddenly got amnesia, but she genuinely doesn't know if she murdered her best friend or not. Like, she's actually got amnesia. Fortunately for Lucy, the police didn't have enough evidence to charge her, and it's now 5 years in the future. However, a podcaster, a true crime podcaster, has just rocked up and said to the police that he's willing to help them with the investigation and find out what actually happened that night. I went into this book with little to no expectations based on the UK cover. Didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I actually did do this one on audio, and I listened to the audiobook in one day because I couldn't stop. This is a thriller book. This is a true thriller book. However, it deals with so much humour. Like, Lucy's grandma, if you've read this book, you know. Parts of this book had me laughing out loud like so many times, but the twists were really good. I thought the character development was amazing. And this is one that I highly, highly recommend. I've actually just ordered myself a trophy copy of the US cover because I couldn't look at that UK cover anymore. Like, that's how much I love this book. The Night Swim by Goldin is a book that I've spoke about quite a few times on my channel now, because this is a gold star thriller book, and it is a thriller book that has something to say. And I really like it when books have like a message behind them, but it's not a message that's being like forced down your throat, you know? I feel like we don't get that a lot in thriller books. Rachel Crowell has just become a true crime sensation, a true crime podcast sensation overnight, because her little true crime podcast got an innocent man out of jail and now like is blown up. She's just about to start season 2, and this case has taken her to a little small town where the town's golden boy, the top swimmer of the local high school, has been accused of assaulting a girl. She throws herself straight into the case. So I guess because there's a lot of courtroom scenes as well, it is kind of a legal thriller, but as a side plot, Rachel starts receiving letters from an anonymous person saying, please help me find out what happened to my sister in this town 25 years ago. I think about this book all the time. All the time. Again, this is another one that I did on audio, and it was just, I've got no notes. I've literally got no notes. And I don't think I've seen anyone tell me that they don't like this book, because it's just incredible. Go and read it. That's all I've got to tell you. But don't read Dark Corners. So Dark Corners is technically the sequel to The Night Swim, but like it can be read as a standalone. It just follows our main character, Rachel Crowell, and her true crime podcast. I don't know what Megan Goldin did to Rachel Crowell, but like these felt like two different books. I gave The Night Swim 5 stars and I gave Dark Corners 1 star. Lisa Jewell is my queen, and we have to talk about None of This Is True, because somebody put a firework up Lisa Jewell's arse to like write this book, I swear, because I never expected this from Lisa Jewell. This felt so fresh. It felt like completely different to anything she'd ever done before. And like I say all the time, but I was like, Lisa Jewell. And then, to be fair, her last book was nothing like it. So bring back this energy, please, Lisa. None of This Is True follows Josie. Josie is our main character, and she is out celebrating her 40th birthday with her husband when she goes into the toilets and she meets another woman that is celebrating her 40th birthday. And it turns out they were both born on exactly the same day, they're exactly the same age, and they were born in the same hospital. So she's like, we're birthday twins. The woman that Josie had met is called Alex. Alex hosts her own podcast where she talks about women and gets women on to like speak about their lives. And Josie's like, I've got a really interesting life. Like, how about we do a podcast about the fact that we're birthday twins? But how much of what Josie is telling Alex is true? Maybe none of it. That's my favourite little hook when I'm talking about this book. I'm like, I'm so clever. This book is actually told through mixed media, because not only are we getting the podcast transcripts in the book, which is a common theme actually throughout all of the books I'm going to speak about, but in None of This Is True, we actually get like a Netflix excerpt. So in the book, a Netflix documentary is being made about this case. So like, you know, something terrible has happened and it's kind of leading up to that. So you've got the podcast transcript, you've got the usual book format, and you've also got like a Netflix documentary going on. Oh God, it's just so good. And this is going to be coming to Netflix very soon, and I cannot contain my excitement. Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson follows a main character called Poe. Poe has a very successful podcast called Tell Me What You Did. And on this podcast, she invites people to come on anonymously and confess their crimes. I'm going to be real with you. The ethics behind that, a bit grey. Not really sure how I feel about that. And obviously people love this podcast because it's like juicy gossip. Like, people are coming on here confessing to crazy things, but being able to, nobody knows who they are. Until one day somebody comes on Poe's podcast and says, I killed your mum. And Poe's thinking to herself, this is going to sound like a spoiler, but I promise it's not, it's in the blurb. Like, I don't think you killed my mum, because I killed the person that killed my mum. So like, who's this guy? Is he telling the truth? What's going on there? And this was a bit different to anything I've ever read before, actually. Like, I did half of this physically and half of it on audio. And in the book, there's some QR codes that you can scan, and it will take you to like a recording of the podcast where like actors are acting the scene out. It was a bit cheesy, I'm not going to lie. But like, I've never seen anything like that in a book before. This isn't one of my favourites of all time. I did enjoy it. I didn't love it. But it's a recommendation that I want to give to you, because like, just because I didn't love a book doesn't mean you're not going to love it. Do you know what I mean? The world would be so boring if we all had the same opinions. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is Sadie by Courtney Summers. And I just need to give you a bit of a warning. This book is like not like any other thriller book I've ever read before, in the sense that it will probably rip your heart out. And that's, I promise, that's not a spoiler. You need to go into it knowing that, and knowing what you're getting yourself in for. This is actually a YA book, but it deals with such heavy topics. So like, if you do need any like content warnings, of course, always please check that first. Sadie and her sister Mattie had the most troubled upbringing. They didn't have a good life. And 19-year-old Sadie is left to look after her 13-year-old sister. She is the primary caregiver for her little sister. But sadly, one day, her little sister is murdered, and Sadie sets out on this course of revenge where she needs to get justice for her little sister and murder the man that was responsible. Now, this story is set in 2 timelines. So it's set in, you're getting a podcast transcript of a guy called Wes McCrae who is looking into this case and trying to find out what happened. And then we're also getting the perspective of Sadie as she is out on this journey of trying to find this man. I just had a look at my Amazon history and I actually read this book in 2022, like over 3 years ago. And I remember I didn't rate it very highly. I think I went into it with like too high expectations. But it's a story that's like just really stayed with me. And like I can still remember so much about it and how it made me feel. So yeah, just a warning, know what you're getting yourself into. Isn't it funny that like talking about certain books can take you back to a certain time of your life, or like what you were doing when you were reading that book? Because I read All of the Dangerous Things by Stacy Willingham in Krakow in Poland. Me and Amy took like a little city break there. And Krakow is actually one of my favourite places I've ever visited. So like when I just like added this to this list, I was like, oh, take me back. It's been 364 days since Isabella's son Mason was taken. Nobody knows what happened to him. He was just taken in the middle of the night, and Isabella has not slept a wink since. She is traumatized. The police have stopped looking for her little boy, and her husband says that they need to move on, but she just can't bring herself to do that. When she meets a true crime podcaster named Waylon Spencer, he says to her, I will help you look into this case. We will do it as a podcast and we will find out what happened to your son. But he may have dark motives of his own. I don't think I've ever spoken about this book before on the channel, and I'm not sure why, because it's so good. Like, I've read 2 books by Stacy Willingham now. I've got more on my TBR, but like, I really feel like she is an incredible author. Like, her writing and descriptions are like flowery, but like not too flowery. Like, I think she's an amazing, amazing author, and I need to prioritize reading the rest of her books. This is your little midway reminder that if you're enjoying this video and you want like loads more thriller book recommendations, I would love it so much if you could hit the subscribe button and stick around. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you so much. The next book is Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. Now, when I tell you the plot of this book, you're going to be like, where's the podcast, Michaela? You're going to have to trust me, all right? I can't really talk too much about it because I feel like where the podcast comes in could be leaning into spoiler territory, and I would never do that on this channel. So just trust me, there is a podcast element to it, but I can't tell you why. Terrible booktuber, I'm not. I'm saving you. I'm saving you from the spoils. Paris Peralta is married to a very, very famous comedian named Jimmy. However, Paris has never really been involved in like celebrity culture, the showbiz side of it. She's always kept like out of the spotlight and to herself. Her husband has just been found dead in the bathtub, and the police automatically think Paris has done it. She is the number 1 suspect. They think that because like when they arrive at the scene, she's in the bathroom covered in blood. I mean, that does look a bit suspicious, doesn't it? But is Paris who she really says she is? Because when all of this happens and it's all on the news, a woman who's serving life in prison for a very similar murder says that she knows who Paris really is and might be exposing her dark secrets. I love Jennifer Hillier. I actually still need to film my Jennifer Hillier backlist ranking video because I have read all of her books now, and she has got a new one coming out next year actually. So if you do still want to see that video, please let me know and I will absolutely get it filmed for you, because some of her books are really dark. Like really, really dark. If you're looking for a dark and twisty thriller, Jennifer Hillier is your woman. Okay, the last book recommendation I've got for you before we go into the ones that are on my TBR is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. And I'm not going to spend too long on this book because we did speak about it in the cults video, because like it has the crossover of cults and podcasts, so it fits into both. Shay and her best friend Laurel, when they were in college, they got seduced by an older man and they got brought into his dark world, which may or may not have been a cult, and Shay and Laurel were the only ones out of their friends that managed to escape. It's now 8 years later. Shay has built a life for herself. She's listening to her favourite true crime podcast, and she finds out that Laurel is dead. on her favourite true crime podcast. Shay starts to feel that it may have something to do with what they were involved in when they were in college, and she's going to work with the true crime podcast to find out what actually happened. So good, so dark, so twisty. Parts of this book had like me gasping out loud, which is what you want from a thriller book, really, isn't it? Okay, these ones I haven't read, disclaimer. So if you read them and don't like them, don't blame me. The first one is The Lake of Lost Girls by Catherine Green, and I am actually going to be reading this book this month because it is on my November TBR and I can't bloody wait. This book is told in two timelines. One of the timelines is in 1998, where we're at a university and girls keep on going missing. And then in the present day timeline, Lindsay, who is one of the sisters of one of the girls that went missing in 1998, has reached out to a really popular true crime podcast and been like, please help me. I need to find out what happened to my sister and all of these other girls. But just as they start delving into this case, the bodies of the girls start turning up in the local lake. I think this is also going to have mixed media. And I love mixed media. Oh, that's another video I've got up actually. If you're looking for mixed media thriller book recommendations, go and watch this video. Make sure you come back at the end of November to find out in my wrap-up what I thought of this book. Beneath Devil's Bridge by Loreth Ann White. Now, Loreth Ann White, I always say that her books are like popcorn thrillers, but with depth. Like, I would actually quite liken her to Charlie Donnelly, now I'm thinking about it. In Beneath Devil's Bridge, we follow a true crime podcaster who is looking for her next case that she can talk about on her podcast and make her this big success. When she decides to focus on a man called Clayton, who was a respected family man and he was a guidance counsellor when he was accused of killing one of his students. Clayton confessed to killing this girl, but would never admit to why he actually did it. And Trinity, who is the host of the true crime podcast, is now going to get exclusive access to him in prison and do interviews to find out why and what really happened. But then, plot twist, during these interviews, he's like, actually, I lied. I never did it. So, was he telling the truth then, or is he telling the truth now? All of Loreth Ann White's books are on Kindle Unlimited as well. And she's another author that I really need to prioritise reading. Feel like everybody was reading I Have Some Questions For You by Rebecca Mackay a few years ago. And I just completely missed the bandwagon. And I'm going to be real with you. It's because I don't like the cover. I think, again, the UK and the US have different covers. But I really, really don't like the cover. And it's just not drawing me in. But the blurb does sound very good, so I'm going to need you to convince me to read it. Bodie Kane is a successful film professor and also host of a podcast. She went to this boarding school when she was younger, and sadly one of her friends was killed by one of the teachers there. But when the school invite Bodie back to teach a 2-week course to the new students, she can't help herself but start looking back into the case of her friend that was murdered and the teacher that was convicted, and think, did he actually do it, or was he just the scapegoat for it? It's given dark academia, isn't it? That's what it's given. For all my athletes out there, can't relate, Runner 13 by Amy McCulloch. Now, I got asked if I would like a copy of this book, and the reason I said yes is because I thought Amy would love it, because it follows people that take part in marathons. Amy loves running. I do not. Runner 13 follows a main character called Adri, who is one of the world's best ultra marathon runners. One day she is invited to take part in the Sahara Desert Ultra Marathon, which is running 250 miles through the Sahara Desert with only the supplies on your back. I mean, I don't know why anybody would put themselves through that, but sure. But when one of the runners is badly injured, Adri thinks that's a bit suspicious and it just doesn't seem quite right. And there may be a killer on the loose chasing them in the desert. And I guess who can run the fastest? The blurb actually says, and the problem with running faster than everyone else is that you're miles ahead of anyone who can save you. I mean, that's a great point. Just don't run fast. And then the last book I want to speak to you about is a Charlie Donnelly, because you all know I'm in my Charlie Donnelly era, all right? Well, this one is called The Suicide House. Now, that's a bit of a dark name, innit? Now, just to clarify, this is technically book 2 of 2 in like the series. The first one is called Some Choose Darkness. So I think you've got to read that one first before the Suicide House. I think though it just follows like the same main character called Rory, but even still, like I still like reading them in order. And this one is another one where the teacher was accused of murdering the students. I feel like that's been like a common theme. How many books have I said that was not intentional at all? Anyway, I have to include it because I'm excited for it regardless. It's Charlie Donnelly. I'll read anything that he puts out. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you got some good recommendations. Please let me know in the comments if you've got any recommendations for me. I would love to know. Please hit the subscribe button on your way out. Give this video a like because it really helps me. Thank you so much, and I shall see you next time. And if there's any other tropes you want me to do, let me know in the comments.